So in this video I'm going to show you how to make an inset pocket. So I've already made us our pocket lining, which is just here. So I've worked up as many rows as needed and then popped my remaining stitches onto a holder. So for step one is I'm going to add our pocket lining to our main work that I've got just here. So first step when adding it is we need to knit so many stitches in to where our pocket is going to be. So for my sample I'm going to knit 4 stitches in. So 1, 2, 3 and 4. Now these next 10 stitches is where my pocket's going to be. So next thing I want to do is I want to slip these 10 stitches that are in my work onto a holder. So I've got a holder just here and we're just going to slip these stitches onto it. Now when slipping stitches I always like to slip them purlwise, so from back to front and right to left, just so the stitches stay the same way around so they don't get twisted. There we go, I've slipped our 10 stitches onto a holder, so I'm just going to close that. I'm going to pop that at the front of our work, and this is where our pocket's going to be. So now we're going to add our pocket lining to our main pocket. So I'm going to take these stitches off my holder here and pop them onto this needle. And this is going to become the back of our pocket. So I've purposely done our pocket lining in a different colour just so we can see what's going on a little bit easier for this video. There we go. So now my pocket lining is on my left hand needle and the front of my pocket is on a holder. So now going back to these stitches here, I'm now just going to knit along the rest of this row, knitting my pocket lining and then my remaining 4 stitches. Make sure both our ends are nice and tight and just knit across our pocket lining. There we go. And now we've knit across the lining, we're just going to knit our remaining stitches for the other side of the pocket. So now how our lining has been added to our main piece of work. So you can see you've got our main piece of work here and then you've got your lining of the pocket. So to carry on you'll want to just work as you would do for the rest of this piece, and then we'll come back to the pocket to finish it off. So now I've worked a few more rows for our sample here and the main body of the work is complete. So you can see we've got our main body here and then we've got the stitches that we put on the holder for the front of the pocket, and if we move these aside you can see our pocket lining on the inside that we've added into our work. So our next step is to make the border for the pocket. So I'm going to slip these stitches back into work and knit them up in pattern to create our pocket border. So I've got my needle just here. So I'm going to slip these stitches off. Now they are on my needle and ready to work. So then work up in pattern and cast these stitches off, and then I will show you how to sew up our pocket. So as you can see I've now completed our pocket border. I've again done this in a different colour just so we can see what we're doing a little bit easier. And now we're at the stage where we just want to sew in all our side seams. So you've got the 2 side seams which you need to sew in for the border of the pocket, and then finally you want to sew around the lining to join it to the main body of the work, and that will finish your pocket. As you can see I've purposely left all my ends on my work so I can then use those for sewing in. So I'll just show you a little bit about sewing in each end. So we want to use mattress stitch as we're doing it. And when sewing in a pocket, I usually start again one stitch in. So I'm going to go through my first loop here, and then I'm going to marry that up with my stitches here, just making it nice and even, and working it up, making sure you're working into the same row of the main body of the work as you are for the pocket, so it will sit nice and neatly. Let's give that a nice pull. There we go. And then finally do our cast off edge on our final row. Pull that, and then you can take the yarn to the back of the work and weave in the ends here. So you want to complete that for the other side of our pocket border, and then I'll show you how to do the back of the pocket. So here you can see I've finished sewing up our pocket border. So I've sewn up both the side seams here, so that is nice and in place now as an opening for our pocket. So our final step for finishing off our inset pocket is to turn our work round to the wrong side and sew our pocket lining to our main piece of work, and this will complete our pocket. So I've purposely left my ends after casting on and casting off in work, so then I can use these to sew up with. So to sew this up, we're going to go down the pocket, along the side and up this edge, so we're completely closing this area off and creating our pocket. So to sew it up, we're going to do it in mattress stitch as we usually would, but our main difference is, rather than working from the right sides, you can see we're working from the wrong side of the work. But for our main pocket lining, I'm still going to work from the right side of it, but then into the wrong side of our actual main piece. So I pull that nice and tight, then I'm going to go in one stitch in like we usually do. There we go. And weave through our first loop. Now, going into our main piece of work, I'm going to go in one stitch in from the pocket as well, and just going through that first loop. And again, going into my next stitch down my pocket lining, and my next one down on my main piece of work. And you're going to carry this on. So as you can see, I'm working from the right side of the pocket lining into the wrong side of the main piece of work. And this is so the small seam that mattress stitch creates will create it on this side of the pocket rather than the inside of it. So when you pop your hand in, you won't feel any seam. Okay, I've done a few stitches now, so I'm just going to pull that up, and you can see we're creating a seam just there. Let's carry on for a few more stitches. So working in the next row down and the next row down here. And you want to carry this on, working around the rest of the pocket lining. So down this line, along our bottom edge, up this part, and this will enclose our pocket. Now here we have our finished pocket. So we've sewn up our side edges at the back and at the front, and now it's all finished. So where we've sewn our side edges on the back, you can see we've got our seam on the outside of the pocket, so when you pop your hand in, you've got a nice, neat and smooth finish. and that is how you'll make an inset pocket.